All right. So today I have the pleasure to speak with a friend, a former teammate and three-time Olympian, Angelica Delgado. Hi, Angie. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm
Uh,
good. I'm good here in Miami.
how is life treating you?
It's good. It's hot. Training's going really well. I just got done training this morning and then I had a nice massage because I needed it from being away for a month training and I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so I need it. I'm old.
You're not old. You're not old. You are still going strong. And you're still here. I'm so proud. Like you are representing the old ones, and it's really amazing. So
The
congratulations.
over 30 club.
Yeah, the over 30. I know. Unfortunately. It's not a bad thing to be over 30 though and do sports anymore.
No.
Before it was, but not anymore. So anyways, congratulations on making your third
Thanks.
Olympic Games. This is just extremely incredible. I'm super proud of you. I know we've
Thanks.
known each other since, we were, I don't know, how old we're like,
Well, I've known you since I was like 14 or 15,
yeah,
so
I like
yeah.
yeah, the junior times. So yeah, like you've been in my life for a really long time. We've been in Tor's life for a really long time. So it's like really cool. I get to sit here and like interview you. It's like a different it's like we're having a coffee together and I'm just gonna ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay. Sounds good. Like we're talking in one of our hotel rooms or something.
Exactly. So, give me a little bit of background information about you. I know your background information, but for everyone else, yeah, tell me about when you started judo and where you're from and all that.
So, hi. I'm from Miami, Florida. I'm 33 years old. I started judo when I was 9, because my father did judo in Cuba. Yeah, he trained with the Olympic national team in Cuba and then defected to the US in the 80s. And one of the things that he first brought with him from Cuba, one of the only things he brought with him from Cuba was his old judo gi, his judo uniform. So I started asking him questions around 8 or 9 about, judo, what that was. And he started kind of teaching me a little bit in our backyard at home. I learned how to like break fall and all that on like concrete, basically.
That's
So, and
so
then,
strong.
yeah, yeah. And then he would like take me to the park and I'd be super embarrassed because we're doing like Iponse Nage and like Osoto like in the park. And he would tell me like, oh, if you really want to be a champion, you won't care what other people think. And that's how it kind of started. And he started taking me to like the local dojos around Miami. And I kind of fell in love with the sport after I did my first competition. I think I did judo for about a month or two, and then I was like, I really wanted to compete. So he put me in my first tournament, and it was like I loved it. I was so nervous, but I think that adrenaline, it was addicting. So I just like fell in love with the sport.
I'm in love with the adrenaline rush when you're competing, right? It's really addicting.
Yeah,
And just the sport is amazing. I love the sport. I've been doing it for a long time and I love
yeah.
competing. All of it's just the best. I think nothing can really beat it. Like everything else in life, this feeling of competing. So, wow. So you started 8 years old. So when did you decide that, this was going to be like I guess destiny, right? The Olympic Games, trying to make the Olympics. Like when did you like decide in your, young Angie was like, oh, I want to do this. I want to go to the Olympics.
I think it's when I first watched kind of like the VHS tapes of like the Olympic Games. Like my dad, like he would go to the local martial arts store and he would buy these like old they're old now, but like the
Yeah.
VHS tapes of like
Yeah.
101 poems and like with Neil Adams commentating, of course.
Yeah.
And and the World Championships and like the 92 Olympics, the 96 Olympics, the Sydney Olympics were like a huge like influence as well.
Mm.
And obviously in 96 and then in 2004 watching Jimmy, get
Yeah.
a
I
medal
remember
and stuff.
this too. Yeah.
Like I vividly remember all of that. I vividly remember Jason,
Mm.
like Mike Swain, like all these guys. And I was like, oh, they're American like me. And they're like competing and winning on the world stage. And I was like, I thought it was amazing. And I had obviously female like role models that I looked up to, like Ryoko Tani,
Yeah.
Tamura. you know, before she got married. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, that's what I want to do. And it all started there. I would stay up till like 3 o'clock in the morning watching like tapes with my dad and stuff. And he's like, well, he told me, he's like, you could do anything, you know, you set your mind to. You just have to like do good in school first because he's a teacher. And then, you know, you could pursue that. So I did. And after that, I never stopped. I don't think I ever stopped doing judo ever. And like this whole time from 9 years old till now. So yeah, that's like kind of what inspired me. And I was like, well, I want to be world and Olympic champion too. So I just kept on going.
Oh, wow. That's like really, it's like cute, amazing, everything, you know, it's like really, really cool to hear. I love
Yeah.
that. It's yeah, it's like I mean, you've just been like nonstop, you know, since you were young, and you've been competing. I don't know. I remember since you're 15, obviously before, but you know, like
Yeah.
internationally competing. You've just been on the go.
Yeah.
On
Back
the go.
then, I mean, you know, like
Mhm.
we didn't have cadet tournaments or junior tournaments like they do now in Europe and stuff. So it was basically like you were 15 years old, like prepubescent
Mhm.
teenager, and you were fighting, you were going to Europe to fight these like grown women, you
Mhm.
know, like I remember m- one of my first international training camps was when I was 15. We went to Paris and we did the Paris Grand Slam training camp. And I was getting my butt kicked like left and right. I think I went with the Spanish girl because I was 57 at the time. That's when we used to fight each other. I was
Yeah.
57 and I went with Conchi Bellorin.
Ah,
And she used to
for her.
do like a dump. She used to do like the dump.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize what that was. You know, I had never seen anyone do like a drop Kataguruma like that. She threw me like 8 times in one randori. And I was just keep getting up, keep getting up, keep getting up, and keep getting thrown at the same thing over and over again. But it, you know, it teaches you resilience at that age, you know, and if you can get past that and you learn to fight back, I think that's what makes you kind of stronger and better and more resilient as you get older, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
But
I have the literally same scenario happen to me. Like,
experience.
yeah,
Yeah.
same experience. And it was in Paris as well. Like, you know, it was the same. I remember
That
looking
camp,
at
that
Jason.
camp, yeah. Now they have so many camps, but back
Yeah,
then,
there
like you would
wasn't that many.
start
Yeah.
in the beach.
And you
I
would,
know.
like, our coaches just threw us into the Paris train.
Yeah, just throw you to the wolves, you know.
Like, we were like, oh, now thinking back at it, I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was like our coaches were crazy, but you know, maybe they were doing they did something right, you know, because like we learned
But
to be mentally tough,
yeah,
you know, so
think about think about that generation though, and like they didn't even have those camps, so
yeah.
they would just train in Europe or in Japan for prolonged periods of time, and then they would have like few tournaments like during the year, you know. So they really had to like, you would do every single round, you would do like every camp, you would go with like the best people that you could possibly go with. So like they taught us
They
that, you
taught us
know,
the
like
same mentality, yeah, because that's what we were
exactly.
to do every round to find the best players and basically get your butt kicked, you know, when you're 15.
Yeah. Like these kids are coming back from like these junior European tournaments now, and they have like these nice camps in between and stuff like that. I'm like, it must be nice going with people your own age. Because
Yeah, I have experience.
yeah, I don't know.
It's very funny. I know the times have changed so much. Like there's this, like the world tour. There's a world tour. You know, before it didn't exist, and it's just changed a lot, and it's become more professional. And it's really cool how judo has evolved since we started, like the
Yeah.
training and competing internationally. So let's talk about the Olympics. You know, it's your third Olympics. I want to hear about, you know, your first Olympic experience in Rio. So tell me about it. You know, now it's some time ago, but you know, tell me about your first experience. What was that like in Rio?
So in Rio, I was 25 at the time. And I mean, I wasn't a baby. Like I had, you know, lots of international experience, obviously, because in order to just qualify for the Olympics, you need to be top 22 in the world and you
Yeah.
need to, you know,
And I think at this
compete a lot.
was it like like top 12 or 15? Remember it was less for
Oh,
women?
it was like, yeah, it was like 16. It
Yeah.
was like 16 at the time or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made it in with the quota, with the continental quota. That's how I went to Rio. But I had actually tried for London, missed out by like one spot of going to London, and then I was like, I have to make it in Rio, you know. So I kind of like made a little team around myself. The USOC doesn't really pay for a athletic trainer, a strength and conditioning coach, a nutritionist, or a psychologist, or anything like that. So I did all that on my own right after London. I was like, I need a psychologist, a sports psychologist. I need a strength and conditioning coach. I need all these things to get me to the position that I need to be in. You know, I need to exhaust all my options. Like, I don't care if I have to pay out of pocket, you know, like, you know, you get into debt quick in this sport because, you know, if you need to get to these places, especially being an American and living in the US, booking flights, hotels, everything gets to be so expensive. You need to compete at least 12 to 15 times a year, and they're all in Europe or Asia. So it might seem impossible, but there's always a way. You know, I was working part-time, I was going to school, and I was training full-time. So like, I found a way to somehow will myself to make an Olympic team in 2016. And yeah, I remember most of all the going into the stadium, like you said, in opening ceremonies, and it hadn't really hit me till then. And I just started bawling, like I started crying my eyes out. And Big Jim was actually Jimmy's dad. Big Jim was actually the one that walked with us. Me, Marty, Kayla, Travis. He was the one that walked, like the coach that walked in the opening ceremonies with us. And you know Big Jim. I don't know if most people know Big Jim, but you know Big Jim, and he's kind of rougher on the edges and doesn't, you know, he's very hard on you at times, you know, and he tells it like it is, but he put his arm around me and he said, "Oh, you deserve this, kid." And I just lost it. I lost it.
I mean, to get this, you don't get this that much, you know, from him, you know.
Exactly.
It really means something when you get that, when he says something like that. Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, I totally just like started bawling and crying, and then I lost in my first round, you know, the next you know, when I fought to Mongolia. But if the rule, I mean, back then the rule was everything was I think everything was like a Yuko, or everything was a Wazari, and you could get an unlimited amount of Yukos or something like that, or an unlimited amount of Wazaris. I forget what the rule was. So I had three Yukos, and she had one Wazari, and that
I remember this fight. I remember watching this fight, and you just couldn't get a Wazari. Yeah, like you couldn't.
No matter what, she kept landing on her side, landing on her side, landing on her side.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, you know, that was it. But overall, it was a great experience. I think after that, it kind of showed me that I was like, oh, this is it. You know, like these are the same women, the same girls that I fight every other month and every other tournament. You know, it's all in your head, because I hadn't gotten a Grand Prix or Grand Slam medal up until then. And then after that is when I started kind of letting loose a little bit more on the World Judo Tour and stuff. And I got a couple Grand Slam medals, got a couple Grand Prix medals. And I was like, oh, this is, you know, I'm like, it's not as hard as you make it out to be in your mind, because I had, you know, the Olympics is like this huge thing looming over your head, and you get, you know, you go into these tournaments the last year of qualification, and you're like, this is it. Like, I need to perform. I have to do this. And like, I didn't start judo because of that. I started judo because I loved it. The feeling of throwing someone completely on their back is amazing, you know? So I just started to have a little bit more fun. And I think the cycle in Tokyo, even though it was an extra year and it was 5 years instead of 4, and it was a little bit prolonged, but I kind of came into my own a little bit more, I think, after that. And I really started to enjoy competing more instead of having that like pressure on my mind. And then obviously, you know, Tokyo, I won one and lost the next one to Rekha Pup. But I felt like I could have won that match also. And then now I just, you know, it's been touch and go, because I know there's been some haters out there that might say like, oh, I'm too old, maybe I'm past my prime and stuff like that, but I still feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. So and at the Olympics, I feel like anything can happen, so I have that to my advantage. I feel like
it's true. No, anything can happen. It's you know what you learn as I think you get more experience, and you, like you said, you you fight against, train against your basically your opponents all the time, and you realize
all the time.
like everyone is beatable, you know, and everyone is struggling with the same thing, mentally, physically, everything. You know,
Yeah.
we're all human, and no one is unbeatable. And I think you start to really realize this, like once you get, you know, older, the experience, and it's really yeah, like you said, anything can happen, and I believe in you. I believe in you. You're not too old. You're not fine. You know, so,
Thank
you
you.
know, I
Thank
really,
you.
so don't, you know, like put yourself down because of the age. Like you're really like you're doing
No,
you're right
I
where
mean,
you need to be,
thankfully,
you know?
yeah, like thankfully, I mean, I haven't had any sort of major injuries. Like I haven't had surgery, you know, thank God,
Yeah,
not going. But like I feel great. Like I feel like I still have, you know, gas left in the tank. And like
yeah,
I always kind of, I've been the person that always had a chip on my shoulder. I felt like I had something to prove, and I always held myself a little bit to like a higher standard. And I wasn't just about making an Olympic team for me. Like I always wanted to win. I always wanted a medal. So that's what I keep having in my mind. The only difference is that I know that if I'm the best version of myself without thinking about results, you know, I can beat anyone who's in front of me. So
yeah. And I love this mentality. That's like how you have to approach it. Like, so yeah, now it's time to go to Paris. And
mhm.
yeah, you know, you kind of already mentioned it, but you know, how is Paris, you know, different? You know, the lead up to Paris, all the, you know, preparation for Paris, has it been different than the other Olympics?
um I kind of this preparation, like, I mean, in the past like month or two, I'd say I've been like kind of preparing
Mm.
for Paris, is very similar to how I prepared for Tokyo, in the sense that like I went to the camp in Alicante and Benidorm, and I went to Valencia as well. But instead, at this time, I went 2 weeks to Japan, which was brutal. You know, you know better than anyone that it's like kind of like a test of wills. At
Yeah.
that point, it's like they are trying to break you, and if you do not break, then you are winning. Because you know, like 15, 20 rounds a day is not for the lighthearted.
No,
So
not at all.
if you don't cry, if you don't break, and you give it right back to them, then you've won like 75% of the battle, I'd say.
Yeah.
So that was my 2 weeks in Tokyo, and then 2 weeks in Spain with like all the European girls. Had a lot of like girls that I will potentially fight in Paris. So that was phenomenal. That was great. I got to get my hands on them again and kind of see and feel if they have any like tricks up their sleeve or anything, you know, like it was really, really good. And then I'm here in Miami just for the week,
Yeah.
just kind of like pack, like, you know,
Home, you
just
know, touch.
refining some
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
And keeping my weight down.
you're good.
Yeah.
And you're leaving,
So
leaving on Monday, right? For
yeah.
Paris.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I leave the 22nd. The 26th is opening ceremonies. The 27th I weigh in. The 28th I fight.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So let's
Mhm.
just, you know, talk about, you know, some of your favorite competition moments leading up to Paris. So do you have any special moments in the last, it's 3 years, not really 4 years, you know,
Yeah.
since yeah, the Olympic cycle. So do you have any moments that stand out to you that like really, really special?
I mean, I got third. I got bronze in the Grand Slam at Budapest in 2022, and that was the first tournament of like the qualification period of
Yeah,
when the points started to kind of count actually.
yeah.
So that was kind of awesome to like, oh, the points start counting now and I get a medal, and that was like great.
Gold in the first one.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also beat Geffen Primo, who I hadn't beaten before, and she's like a very tough competitor, you know, top 8 in the world.
Mhm.
And I, you know, beat her that day in order to get a medal to get into the semis and stuff. So that was a great win for me too. And then a special one, like the most recent one, is the silver at Pan Am's.
Mhm.
Um just because I was able to have kind of everybody there, like my coaches, predominantly like Herman and
Yeah.
Johnny were both there. And having Herman in my chair is always really special to me because he's been my coach since I was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
So you know, it's always nice. Someone that knows you so well. And I was there with him for like a week before the tournament actually began. And we're just kind of like cracking jokes, and he keeps everything really like fun and light. And he knows me so well. Like we don't even, you know,
Yeah.
like
And it's
we
really
don't even have to talk.
yeah,
Yeah.
you get a medal and you get to share it with him, and it's like, yeah, it's like it's
Yeah.
really like it's special. And it's really, really nice. So, you know,
Yeah.
we're going to Paris soon. Oh, do you have any more special moments to share?
No.
Yeah. I mean, every moment you're competing is special.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
So is speaking of special, is anyone special coming to Paris to watch? Your family, your friends, your dogs?
No, my dogs are not coming to Paris. I have 3 now, so that would be impossible.
Yeah.
But I have like a mini cheering squad kind of going. So it's actually 11 or 12 people, 11 people, like from my immediate family. So
Okay.
it's my mom, my brother, Alexander Turner, my husband,
Mhm.
um, my aunt, my cousin, my mother-in-law, Alex's mom, her husband, his two sisters, excuse
Yep.
me, and his niece are all coming to watch me.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then I have some Kitsusai family also coming to watch, which is like half of Johnny's family that are coming to watch me. So
Oh my God.
I hope to hear them. I hope to hear them in the stands, you know, so that's gonna
Oh,
be awesome.
that's gonna be so cool. Wow. Like, cause you know, we don't on the tour, we don't get to have any like cheering squad.
No,
No one's there to like
no,
yell for us, only each other, you know? So that is
yeah.
so cool. That's gonna be really special. I hope they're like, you know, they're gonna take up a whole section, you know, of in the stands,
I
basically.
hope so. I hope so.
So what are you doing after the Olympics? Do you have anything special planned for after?
Y- Yes. I'm going on vacation.
Woo, yeah, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, me and Alex, we're taking off. We're going to Italy. We're going to like the Amalfi Coast.
Mhm.
We're going to Rome. We're gonna explore and just have some like husband and wife time because I think in the past year through like tournaments and qualification period and training overseas because we basically train overseas now because there's not a lot of bodies here in the US.
Yeah.
But I think I've been home maybe a month, maybe two, like maybe a month and a half. I've been home total. Yeah, it's been it's been rough.
You get the
So
most
we need some
supportive
quality
husband.
time.
Yeah, most supportive
Yeah,
husband award, I guess, right? Because he
yeah,
needs you. You're always, always away. So that's
yeah,
really good. It's really important to get this time together. So,
exactly.
um, one more question for you. So Los Angeles 2028 is coming. So 4 years away. So, you know, what advice would you give? You know, you are a three-time Olympian. What advice would you give to the, you know, up and coming aspiring Olympians, you know, that are, you know, trying to make the team next time?
I mean, I always, you know, tell the kids at Kitsusai, especially like the kids that are kind of breaking into the scene right now, competing internationally, and it's like enjoy the moment, you know, and enjoy everything, even the parts that you're suffering. You know, you and I are both weight cutters, and we know what it's like to really suffer for your sport and sacrifice and diet, and you can't always, you know, go to birthday parties or you know, weddings or whatever, you know, there's going to be a lot of sacrifice, but there's going to be like really good moments and moments that you make memories, you know, with your teammates, with your friends. You know, I have a lifelong friend in you.
Yeah.
And you really just have to take it all in and enjoy those small wins and those small moments because they're so fleeting. Like
Yeah.
I feel like just yesterday you and I were fighting at some junior US Open or something, and I blinked and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
33
And you're
now. Like,
and going to your third Olympics, like I feel the same as recently retiring. I'm like, wow, where did the time go? Like, I wish I savored more of the moments, you know, like more of
yeah,
the hard moments because it goes away, and then just like this, like you're gonna be finished with the sport, and it's like, you know, so I think it's very good advice.
it's so easy
Very
because
point of view.
you expect so much out of yourself, like being a high performance athlete, you know, you expect so much. You put the blinders on and you're like, I need more. I want more. I need to do this. I have to do this. And you forget to kind of savor, that moment, like after competition, or even during competition, what it feels like to be in that arena, what it feels like to have, your opponent in front of you, like you kind of, you forget to enjoy. You're just looking to the next thing and to the next thing and what's next, and you kind of get caught up in that, and you really have to be present and stay in the moment, and really like take it all in.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. Really, I think that's the best thing you can possibly say to the young one. I'll ask you one more question. What do the Olympics mean to you? You're an Olympian. What does it mean to be an Olympian in your, point of view, in your heart? What does it mean?
uh, I mean, it's tough because I don't know what means more to me, being an Olympian or being like a judoka,
Mhm.
like a judo athlete, because judo has taught me so much. I don't know if it was in the pursuit of being an Olympian and the pursuit of being great at being an Olympic medalist has made me this way, or has it been judo that has molded me into the person that I am, because judo has so many core values and so many things, like, it's not just an Olympic sport, it's a lifestyle. You bow to your opponent, you bow when you go into the dojo. Sometimes you bow to the referee if you're feeling nice that day, whatever. But there's so much respect, and I don't know of any other sport that train, like, we actually, it's kind of crazy, we train with the people that we're going to fight in a tournament, and the most important tournament of our lives. And I just 2 weeks ago, I was on the mat with like more than half of the girls that I'm gonna compete against potentially in Paris, and everybody's very respectful. Everyone's trying to kind of take care of each other, but also trying to beat the crap out of each other too.
Yeah.
But it's very pure.
Mhm.
There aren't a lot of sports like that. Every other combat sport usually turns into a professional sport, like boxing, for example. But you know, you don't see that a lot. You don't, it's a very pure sport, and it's kind of been like the way of life for me.
Mhm.
But obviously it is a sport, and the highest possible, stage I could get to is the Olympic Games. So, it kind of goes hand in hand. It's been like something for me to strive for my entire life. And I don't know what I'm gonna do when this
Yeah.
uh stage of my life finishes. We'll have to have a private conversation about that later.
Another conversation later.
But it's been like this thing, this almost like unachievable goal, like dream to like always grasp at my whole life. And then, when it's all said and done, you kind of have to be like happy with yourself and with what you gave and stuff. But I think it's been both. It's been, being an Olympian, but also being a judoka, I think, has taught me so much and so many life lessons, and shaped me into the person that I am today. And also giving me so many relationships and friends and family, and my husband. Also, I met him doing judo.
And
So,
your husband too,
I'm
so, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I can't forget Alex.
Yeah, judo is a lifestyle, it's really, I totally agree with you. It's like shaped my life as well. Like I would not be who I am without it. So it's a very, very
Exactly.
special sport. Well, Angie, thank you so much for talking with me. I really enjoyed speaking with you. I'm really excited to see you compete in Paris, not so long from now, a little bit more than a week. You're competing on,
Yeah.
like you said, Sunday.
Sunday, the 28th. Yeah.
Yes, so I'll be watching, I'll be cheering for you. Best of luck. We all are, yeah, very excited to see you. So thank you, Angie, for your time.
Thanks, Anna. Bye.